Okay, and let's get going. Hour number 2. Radiation. A lot of us, well, until 3 years ago, all of us, thought about radiation as some silly civil defense stuff that they used to talk about in the 1950s. And then, oh, those poor people in Chernobyl. Nobody even thinks about all the above-ground testing, particulates of which are still in the atmosphere. And almost all the primary cast in John Wayne's later movie, I've forgotten the name of it now, died of lung cancer. They inhaled hot particles, and they died. So John Wayne and others were killed by radiation. We now have radiation again. Now, I want all of you to understand, there is a general misconception out there that because of the way the media has not handled this, that all of a sudden we have to deal with some potential radioactivity in this country, in the Northern Hemisphere. Wrong. We have been bombarded with radioactivity to one degree or another for 3 years coming up in March. This is not new. We have been inhaling. The citizens of Seattle and Portland and Vancouver, British Columbia, according to Arnie Gunderson, were inhaling up to 6 hot particles a day 2 weeks after Fukushima, after the explosions. And those hot particles didn't stop at the Oregon and Washington eastern borders. They moved right on across the country. But people tend to think in compartmentalized, small little areas because it's safe for them. No. Now, we have it in the air, we have it in the rain, we have it in the snow. We are about to get the polluted part, which is probably 90% now, of the North Pacific, ramming up against the entire West Coast, from BC all the way down to Baja. When that happens in a couple, 3 months, and it's already made landfall in several areas, we know that there are vanguard portions, shall we say, of contaminated toxic water. When the main part hits, it will sit up against the West Coast for at least the next 10 years, around the clock, 366 days a year. It will throw radioactive nuclides, cesium, xenon, probably plutonium, and the worst of all, in many ways, strontium-90, up on the sand. It'll be in the sand. It'll be in the fog. It'll be in the aerosolized marine layer caused by the constant wave action. Every time a wave breaks, little tiny micro droplets are formed, and those micro droplets can contain radioactive particles. Rain picks up its water from the ocean. Much of the evaporation off the surface of the ocean will take up with it radionuclides. They will come down along the coast, inland on the mountain ranges, the Sierras, the Rockies, and some of the storms, and there were many, many, many from October to just last week, we got the first little one in here, that were shredded, broken up, and sent to the south a little bit, but most of it up to the north, in through British Columbia, across Canada, and then the jet stream would bring it down into Central America, the central portion of America, the Great Plains, and that's why some of the readings there are 2 and 3 times normal background. There's really nowhere to hide. But if you live along the coast, you're going to have to take precautions if you're going to have the best chance of avoiding long-term, serious, catastrophic health illnesses. In Chernobyl, millions of lives were saved and made better through a particular discovery by scientist Dr. Michael Kiriak, who came up with a mixture of the 4 most potent, valuable algae types on the planet. Millions upon millions upon millions of these capsules were made and distributed to people in Chernobyl, in the area of Chernobyl and in Ukraine. That product is available here now. And I'm telling you right now, I've been taking this product for the better part of 3 years. Every day, 3 little green capsules. I toss them in my nutrition drink in the blender and blended them up, and you don't even notice them. They're just little capsules. And I have the best possible defense I think I can get. That algae not only helps ward off the effects of radioactive contamination and exposure, but it also gives you a wide range of supplementation that you would ordinarily have to spend maybe a couple $100 and have many different bottles to get every day. It is a super food. Look on the home page at Rense, BioAge Superfood. I'm going to ask you to buy this product and take it every day. 3 little capsules a day. It's not expensive, but it could save your life. Many people who become sick from the radiation will become sick in 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years. All deniable. The government has already begun its cover-up and lying. California's Department of Health should be ashamed of itself, but we expected what would happen. In fact, happened. The feds, we know the EPA will do nothing. They're testing everything. They know exactly what's going on, but they're not going to tell us. How do we know this? The Japanese government lied to its people. TEPCO lied to its people. Governments lie constantly. We're going to have to be proactive. BioAge Superfood is the number 1 defense for radioactive exposure that I have ever come across and probably ever will. And I want you to listen this hour very carefully as we go through. We're not going to take a break this first half hour. Back with us is Roland Thomas. He is the man who brought this product into the country. He is a naturopath. And are you there, Roland?
Yes, good evening, Jeff.
Did I cover the issue okay?
You have done your homework. Just a couple of points. First is I brought the product in the United States, but really Dr. Michael Kiriak is the developer and manufacturer.
Correct.
He's with us tonight, I believe.
Yes, I mentioned that he was the man who discovered it, put it together, and we will bring him on just in a moment. BioAge Superfood. Look for the banner on the home site. It's very simple, bioage.com, and get yourself going on this. It will build your immunological function, your strength, your entire body's physical well-being will advance from this. It is a superfood, and very few Americans eat properly. And I had some things up over the weekend about meat eaters, and you've got to stop eating meat. I mean that. Meat and dairy, you've got to stop. Oh, I need my protein, say some people, or they got this Paleolithic diet where you have to have a lot of meat protein. No, you don't. You know how the easiest way to explain to someone why you don't need to eat meat to have big, strong bodies and muscle and bones? Have you ever seen a cow, a horse, an elephant, a giraffe? What do they eat? Meat? No, never. Okay, Roland, tell us where we are, how Americans are learning to understand that BioAge Superfood is critical. Now we have Fukushima. We didn't have this years ago. We are faced with something unprecedented.
Yeah, Jeff, you have done your homework. I'm impressed with your awareness of the situation. You're really staying on top, and I'm handling a lot of different customers with different problems, but that is definitely up-and-coming issue. There will be issues, there are issues, there will be issues of anemia, of leukemia, birth defects. Children will be affected in their school, in their learning, and the like. But I don't want to take too much time since we have 2 great guests tonight. But I wanted to remind myself that when I lived in Colorado 10, 12 years ago, I remember that was on the news one morning, news that sand clouds, sand fumes from Mongolia, from a desert storm in Mongolia, were falling on the mountains in Colorado. This is sand traveling around the world, and I just not that I couldn't believe it, but that I want to remind people that fumes travel absolutely at the high altitude and drop wherever they will drop. So it's very factual. Another thing I want to bring up quickly is a ray of hope. You shared the Chernobyl story, but also in America I've lived a few cases of people affected, but particularly one case in Michigan, a fellow who had been impacted at one of the 3 nuclear facilities there, enough that the doctor of the facility had put him off work for a few months or until he cleared up, and it wasn't looking very good, and he began to take the BIOSUPERFOOD, a few capsules per day, and lo and behold, after 6 weeks, after another test, the doctor was very surprised to see how his body had cleared so quickly of some of the level. It was a low-level radiation exposure that he had suffered at the facility. So it's not only, it's great, it's much better to take it as a preventative, but it'll also help clear if you are already impacted with radiation ills or pollution. So that's what I wanted to say. And
very good.
If you know, Jeff, that we have also with us Dr. William Johnson.
Yes. We'll talk to him in a little bit. Dr. Kiriak is online right now. And Michael, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Your English sounds even better.
I hope so.
No, you're doing wonderfully. Dr. Kiriak is the man behind BioAge Superfood. He is the man who did the research. He oversees production. Tell us how it was used for the people in Ukraine around the Chernobyl area.
Okay, I will try to do it in English.
You're fine.
Because of the big progress of the humanity, the leukemia become to be very, very actual problem.
Mm-hmm.
But we have the good news and not so good, like this catastrophe of Chernobyl and Fukushima.
Yes.
The problem is a regeneration of blood.
The regeneration of blood, okay?
Of blood, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The régénération au blood, Roland, j'aimerais t'impliquer, toi.
D'accord.
La bonne nouvelle, la mauvaise nouvelle, c'est le cas des 2 catastrophes. Et la bonne nouvelle, c'est l'organisme génial qui répond facilement à certains produits, certains concepts qui provoquent la régénération de la moelle osseuse pour garder en bonne santé la formule sanguine. Merci, Roland.
Okay. Michael, I will translate. Dr. Kiriak switched to French, which I am, and I will translate back.
Very good.
The bad news first was Chernobyl was a terrible news, and it wasn't made as big as it should have at the time. And currently Fukushima, which is a disaster of probably maybe the worst the world has known.
Seems like it.
But, the bad news. The good news is that the human body has the facility, has the ability to restore, to regenerate itself, given that it is fed the proper nutrients at the proper time. And certain formulas, and particularly in this case, the BioSuperfood were developed really for in instance of cancers and prevention of cancer. But after the Chernobyl disaster, it was shown clearly that it helped the body, human body, animal body, awaken its ability to regenerate bone marrow, the red blood cell, the blood the metabolism of the blood. As quickly as it degenerates, it's able to regenerate. And the idea of consuming these capsules frequently every day is to continuously maintain that vitality of the body, to fight immediately, not to accumulate the debris and the pollution in the body and the loss of life force.
Thank you, Roland. Alors,
Yes, Michael, go ahead.
yeah.
One thing, let me say one thing. What I really like about superfood, BioAge superfood, is that it only takes 3 small capsules a day, little ones. These are the smallest capsules I've seen in commercial production. It is so potent and so powerful that that's all you need to do. It is so easy, it's ridiculous.
Ok. Jeff, imaginez-vous une catastrophe comme on a eu donc même à Hiroshima, Nagasaki, comme on a eu à Tchernobyl et Fukushima. Des organismes exposés à une forte radiation. Le foie, dû à tous les processus physiologiques, est tombé à 15 cm en bas, plein de métaux lourds. Oui, on a eu des décès, mais quand on arrive à administrer 3, 4, 5 capsules de BioSuperfood, surtout la formule 3, on se rend compte que il y en a une amélioration de la formule sanguine vite et fort. Ça veut dire que nous avons une bonne régénération de la moelle osseuse qui provoque la formation des cellules sanguines comme érythrocytes, thrombocytes et leucocytes avec une bonne proportion, avec une proportion correcte entre eux. Merci, Roland.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Roland?
We've, as seen after even the first, the nuclear bomb at Hiroshima, for example, there was also following that catastrophe many people that survived on inexplicably, even though, of course, we know why, because they were eating a more decent diet of mushrooms, of certain vegetables, of cabbage, rather than, like you said earlier, Jeff, meat and sugar diet, for example.
And dairy.
Those people that had these extraordinary diet, and probably algae at the time in Japan. Many people have survived from being very close to the direct explosion. So imagine that at Chernobyl, what Dr. Kiriak has observed was that some of the cases were so advanced. We're not talking about prevention. We're talking about people that were in stages of intense degenerative conditions, such as the liver failing, eyes starting to burst out of the body, loss of hair, and so forth.
Really?
By consuming 3, 4, 5, 6 capsules per day of the Formula 3 equivalent. Very quick blood restoration of the blood, of the vitality of the blood first, of the current blood within the body, and as well as following immediately the strength, the regeneration power of the bone marrow, and the balance within the blood of the white blood cells, which is unlike, if you wish, going against whether it be leukemia or anemia. Those are imbalances. Restoration of the blood metabolism, in other words, which leads to restoration of the organ life and strength and vitality, and the liver was restored and so forth.
We know
that's what he said.
Yeah, okay. We now know that strontium-90 is going to be the dominant radionuclide that is constantly being poured into the Pacific Ocean. And it's very interesting because in 1992, there was a model made of a nuclear meltdown. They did this in the laboratory. They didn't actually melt a reactor down. But that model showed that after 1,000 days, strontium-90, for reasons I cannot explain scientifically here, but the model does, would become the dominant radionuclide dumped into the water. Now, they're showing this with tests in Fukushima in the test wells right now. TEPCO is admitting that strontium-90 is enormous in its presence, and they're very concerned about it getting into the ocean. Well, they're lying because it's already pouring into the ocean. We know that. The distance to the shore is short. We know how far water moves under the ground each year, and after 1,000 days, the water has made it into the ocean with the strontium-90, which takes the place of calcium in the bones and destroys the bone marrow. That's how it does its damage. So to do anything to enhance or strengthen the human immune system in the bone marrow is essential.
Absolutely. Prevention here is survival, and being prepared and starting before you're impacted rather than wait to lose your life force. It would be an upward battle. And really the time is now, I have no doubt. And like you said earlier, consuming 3, 4, 5, 6 capsules per day provides many more benefits of increasing even your daily energy, your focus, your strength, the prevention of other problems in our life, such as the loss of blood sugar balance, prevention of diabetes, and plaque, and cardiovascular plaque. And frankly, we now know, based on the research in Russia with human and animal particularly, that it prevents conditions like leukemia, like Alzheimer and dementia.
Wow. All right. Well,
that is a disaster coming up.
It is. Well, we have an epidemic of Alzheimer's. Nutrition is the key to everything. Dr. Michael Kyriak, thank you again for being here tonight. It's good to talk to you.
Thank you. Let me say something, Jeff.
Okay, hold on if you would. We have to take a break, and you'll say it just in a couple of minutes. So hold on. We'll come right back. Okay, let's get right back to it. We're trying to learn each day a little bit more on how to prevent catastrophic illness and protect ourselves. I'm not here to tell you that I know how much radioactivity is going to come into your life. I don't know. I can't tell you how much radioactivity is going to come up on each beach all up along the West Coast. I don't know. I do know they're beginning to measure it more and more. I do know it's been in the air and the atmosphere for 3 years this March. They measured plutonium in New Mexico in the middle of the desert from Fukushima. They could tell by the nuclear signature of it 6 days after the first plant exploded. That's how quickly it made it over here. Did your government tell you that? Hell no. All right, Dr. Kyriak, what else would you like to say?
Thank you very much. Roland, tu es là?
Yeah. Good. He can go ahead in English or French, whichever he'd like, Roland.
OK. Durant tout le temps des catastrophes atomiques, Roland, on a eu des décès, on a des survivants. Et voilà les bonnes nouvelles maintenant. Car l'organisme est assez génial qui lui répond assez vite à des bons produits. Et importante est une conclusion. Durant 3 semaines seulement, et soit que sont les animaux, soit que sont les humains, en 3 semaines, on peut comprendre que la vie, il nous donne un sourire, car la régénération de la moelle osseuse est assez forte. Regardez qu'est-ce qui se passe dans la fond de l'océan. On ne trouve pas assez de leucémie dans toutes les tailles des poissons, soit qui est petite taille, soit qui est grosse taille des poissons, des baleines, des dauphins, car ces animaux et ces poissons, ils font une bonne sélection quoi manger et quoi abandonner. Donc il est primordial de garder la bonne nutrition. Et nous avons un produit qui pourra nous aider maintenant. Deuxièmement, il faut avoir un bon mode de vie. N'est pas circuit, donc n'est pas circuit donc les nourritures, parce que ça provoque aussi une bonne anémie. Alors soyez prudents que l'organisme réponde vite, mais alors qu'on a un bon mode de vie, qu'on a de bons produits, un dominateur dans l'organisme. Tu seras capable, Roland, d'expliquer ça. Hello?
Yes, Dr. Kiriak, we heard that. Go ahead. Roland, would you translate, please?
Some problem with Roland?
Oh, maybe we lost Roland. Okay, let me do this. Dr. Kiriak, we will have Roland back on the line in a couple of minutes, and he will translate what you just said. And we have a lot of people listening who understand French and understood you perfectly. And that's no problem. We will look forward to talking to you next time, and thank you so much for your wonderful work.
Thank you.
Okay, good night. Okay, I believe we lost Roland for a moment there. Let me find out if we have Dr. William Johnson online. He's our second special guest tonight. Dr. Johnson, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Very good. Welcome.
Can you hear
to the
me
program.
on my speakerphone?
We got you just fine. Speakerphones are not good. Yours is fairly good. We'll see what we do, and if not, I'll ask you to pick up the handset. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
I'm back, Jeff.
Okay, Roland. I just brought Dr. Johnson on. I don't know if you were able to hear Dr. Kiriak's final statement or not.
I was.
You want to go ahead and sum that up real quickly, then we'll get right to Dr. Johnson.
I'll do that. Good evening, William. I'll be right back. Let me translate this here. Dr. Kiriak said that during the Chernobyl crisis, yes, they lost some people there as a result of the disease of the severe infection, but they saved many. And generally, it was because of either they were children, they were more resilient, or the diet, discipline, the lifestyle was a critical factor. But the good news is that was thus observed that the human organism or animal organism is so efficient that it was observed that within 3 weeks, the bone marrow started to become strong again and combat the ills to date, but also even when there was still water and food infected.
Even though they were exposed to the radioactivity and the isotopes.
Wow. The message from Dr. Kiriak is that there is hope. And then he gives us an extraordinary example. This is even currently, and then in our ocean, fish or ocean fish or other organisms of all sizes are seen with no leukemia or no anemia. And why is that? He says that these fish are smart enough to continuously select the right food to survive, to combat, to veer away from being losing their force. And so it is important for us to choose food that are fresh, that are not overcooked, a lot of raw food, fresh, local, obviously a lot of plant food.
Yeah.
And also the lifestyle, in other words, to keep a good exercise routine and eat regularly and sleep and rest.
Okay, we're going to go through this break and go right to Dr. Johnson now. Dr. Johnson, tell us your view on all of this and where we are and why the BioAge superfood, this combination of 4 extraordinarily powerful algae, are so critical.
Well, first I have instructions for you with your capsule you're taking.
Yes.
Take them on an empty stomach so they get to your brain and your heart.
the F3, you'd suggest taking them with
Don't
water?
mix them with anything. You want to take them on an empty stomach so that it's brain food and heart food. I found that it works well.
All right.
And I've been taking it for over a decade.
I'll take
now.
it before breakfast then.
Yeah, I take it morning, noon, and night. You want to spread it out throughout the day.
Okay.
And I would up your intake to 6 capsules a day.
All right.
I've been working with this with patients from all over the world for a number of years. And so I want you to improve on how you're doing this.
Very good.
The second thing I want to tell you is that the government, we can go back more than a half a century, and back in 1961, I was practicing in the western suburbs of Chicago, and I had physicists from Argonne Laboratories in Joliet, Illinois, tell me that they could tell when there had been an above-ground explosion of a nuclear device in Nevada, because 3 months later, the rate of leukemia in the children jumped considerably because of strontium-90 coming through the air, landing on the pasture, consumed by the cows, concentrated in the milk. The children drank the milk, concentrated in their bones, and affected their bone marrow and the production of white blood cells and red blood cells.
I think you heard me say earlier that strontium-90 from now on will be the predominant isotope nuclide being dumped into the Pacific from Fukushima. There's no way to stop it, none. They're measuring now at 75 feet below the level of the reactor. That means the corium has gone down, or it is at least affecting the groundwater that low, and that's very bad news. So we've got to get smart.
Don't think that it's just on the West Coast. They found radioactivity in the snow in St. Louis. They found a high level of radioactivity in Colorado, in Grand Junction, a threatening level of radioactivity. So it's not just on the coast. It's throughout the country.
Yes,
So everybody,
I've been trying to make that point.
You don't think that because you're not on the coast.
Yeah.
And I've noticed this for a number of years now, or a number of months since Fukushima blew up. I travel to the West Coast about 4 times a year. I work in a clinic in the West Coast, and I also see people from all over the world, from New Zealand, from Australia, from Finland, and so on. And I work on a clinic in the Bahamas. I'm finding people having signs of radiation sickness even before this accident, but more so. And I'm seeing the signs because everybody fills out a symptom survey that has about 181 questions, and they all have been seen, have evidence of radiation sickness. Very subtle now, but it's going to be worse. And so I was trained to recognize radiation sickness as the corpsman in the Navy during the Korean War, and I was in the Atlantic Fleet, but I was to recognize severe radiation sickness. But now I'm seeing the subtle signs of radiation sickness, and a lot of people are experiencing a lot of confusion. They call it insecurity, anxiety, tremors, and loss of sleep, and particularly fatigue. And that's what it would be a sign. People say, I'm tired all the time. I can't seem to rest up. And so these are just subtle things. And so the key thing is prevention. And so taking the BioSuperfood is really important, and it's important to take it throughout the day and try to get it on an empty stomach so it goes directly into the bloodstream and keeps your level up throughout the day and the night. I get up at night and take some during the night.
Very good.
I'm going to be 84 years old, so I have to take care of myself. And
well, you sound terrific. Wow.
Got to be around a while. So anyhow,
you got
the main
work to
thing
do.
is prevention. And the way to prevent the damage from the radiation is taking the bioalgae. I've been taking it for over a decade, and I know the benefits of it.
Mm-hmm.
And those people that are on that are having X-rays and CAT scans, they're going to get more radiation. I would recommend they avoid those with all possibility. It used to be that they'd have a film badge, and you could determine how much radiation you had. Now they're not paying attention to that. The other thing is that we have non-ionizing radiation from electromagnetic frequencies from cell phones, cell towers, Wi-Fi, computers, and
it's
so on.
It's absolutely deadly over time.
And I see people, I thought this was the problem, but then I'm finding out this is more of radiation, and it's been worse since Fukushima. And so the mortality rate of children on the West Coast went up 40%. It'll get worse. The biggest crime is our government hasn't said anything about this. They didn't 50 years ago. They're not doing it now.
Nope.
They're criminals. They're criminals in the first line, and I think the people should complain about it and say we're going to take you to task. Now,
it's genocide, Doctor. Genocide.
Yes,
when you knowingly withhold
now,
that
there
kind of
are
information.
subtle symptoms of radiation, and I want to point those out to you. If I may go down the list, you can hear me okay?
You're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. Anxiety, hysteria, insatiable hunger, extreme nervousness, feeling of unreality, dizziness, rheumatoid pains, hearing problems, inner quaking or trembling, extreme tiredness, mood swings, hot and cold flashes, loss of willpower, gastric distress, extreme headaches, aches in the joints, memory loss, and sore throat. But those are subtle compared to the severe conditions like Dr. Kuriak talked about that he dealt with in Ukraine. Now, the other thing that we have to deal with now is this is accumulative. The children, little children are going to be exposed to this for the rest of their life. The half-life of cesium-137, strontium-90, and all of these radioactive materials is hundreds of years. And so you accumulate it. It accumulates in the soil, it accumulates in the water, it's in the air. And so we're not dealing with a simple problem. It's not just on the West Coast. It's throughout the country. And so I've been seeing this, and it's been very subtle. So I started telling people right after Fukushima, he said, you get on the bioalgae. This is your answer. Some of them followed my instructions. Those that did are much better for it now. They aren't experiencing all this, the different variations in their health. And so it isn't a matter of, well, maybe if I do this, I'll be able to function better. You got to do it. It's just not a question of whether to do it or not to do it. You need to do it.
No
if you want to stay
elective.
alive, and if you're older and you're younger, the children are more vulnerable because of the body size. So I'm saying, I called up everybody that has little children. I said, you got to get on this bioalgae right now. You don't have time to wait. You want to build up your immune system. You want to protect yourself. Don't wait. Don't wait till you need it. Do it right now. Unfortunately, here in the Midwest, I live in Wisconsin, we've had north winds, Arctic winds coming down instead of from the West Coast. Now we're coming from the West Coast.
Yeah.
So we're getting it here.
Well, you're also getting it because the jet stream has been taking many of the storms at mid-Pacific, which run up against a very suspicious high-pressure ridge and go north. They're broken up, and the pieces go north, up over Vancouver, up over BC, into central Canada, and right smack down in the middle of the country.
That's what's happened here. Yeah, and so my wife and I have been taking the bioalgae, and we've been taking it for over a decade. So we're protecting ourselves, but we're also have to stay functional so we can protect other people. And Dr. Kuriak did the most extensive research of any product in the world. He had 600 workers working under him, and this was over a long period of time, and he arrived at 4 of the algae out of 35,000 that was most effective. And also the people that have pets, who want to keep their pets alive, they have the algae for their pets. And people will probably spend more money for their pets than they will for themselves.
It often
because
happens.
they don't want to lose their pets.
No, they're
so
below
anyhow,
their family.
any questions you want to ask, I'll see if I can answer them.
Well, you've done a marvelous job of laying it all out already. I want to point out, though, that the bioaccumulation aspect is crucial. And that's the part that doesn't stick with most people. Say, well, the radiation count is low today, I can go out. But it's not a question of low, high. It's a question of time, because the exposure is chronic. Low, high, medium, it doesn't matter. These things grow in their numbers over time. In the oceans, we're seeing die-offs among the fish, among the mammals. The Pacific Ocean, we don't know how bad it is, but it has obviously been grievously wounded. The fish and the mammals are showing it. The government will not measure, and I would urge all of you folks along the West Coast who are going to begin to do your own monitoring with your own Geiger counters to go down to your local beach and get baseline readings right now. Take a shovel, get a sand sample at the top, read that, dig down about a foot and a half, and take a shovel of that sand, put it on the beach or on a paper towel or on a whatever, and take a reading of that. See if you notice a difference, a foot deep and surface, because this stuff does not go away. It stays on the sand. I will project now, I'm not predicting, I'm going to project that when this mass of toxic, polluted, radioactive ocean water, and just take a black cup of coffee and pour milk in it, stir it around, and you'll get the idea. When that mass of water, and it's very close to the shore now, hits the West Coast within the next 3 months, and it will stay here for 10 years, that some beaches are going to be reading so high that no one will go down on them. That's just going to be a fact. Don't let the government be responsible. They won't. You've got to take that responsibility yourself. Local communities are going to have to post readings if they care about their people, or citizens groups will have to post readings. This is what's coming, and it's already been 3 years that we've been subjected to this in the air. Now we're going to get it in the water. Doctor?
Yeah, one of the things I want to point out to you, a number of years ago, over 25 years ago, they did massive research on the B vitamin folic acid at the University of Minnesota. I had a doctor friend of mine call me about that, a doctor from the International Clinic of Biologic Cell Regeneration, who I am the spokesman for and the consulting doctor. He called me and said, I think we found the answer to cancer. And I said, what is it? He said, folic acid. Folic acid is called folic acid because it's found in foliage, and it's a B vitamin. I went up to the university and researched the research and found out that 5 milligrams of folic acid would reverse cervical cancer. Did I ever see any publication of that in any medical journals? No. I saw one paragraph in Shape magazine. That was all. And they found out that folic acid would prevent spina bifida. It took 20 years for the gynecologists and obstetricians to prescribe folic acid to the pregnant mothers. So you can't depend on the medical people to protect you. They're not going to do it because they're following the protocol of the system. The system is out of balance. We have to protect ourselves. If we don't, we die.
Well, you're being very kind by calling it out of balance. It's criminally negligent.
It's a crime above crimes.
Mm-hmm.
When you, I know doctors pointing out to the children they need to be protected. Did the Atomic Energy Commission tell the people in the Midwest, well, we're sending radioactive strontium-90, you need to protect your children? No, they didn't. They just kept blowing them up, and then finally they started blowing up below ground, and it was in Carson City, Nevada, and at a convention there, and they said, well, we always know when they've done below ground testing because we have radiation sickness. People pour into the doctor's office radiation
from
sickness.
Below ground tests. Wow.
Below ground, because it comes up through the ground.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
And then, well, what do they build a receptacle for radioactive cesium-137, which you get from the atomic energy plants, to be stored in the mountain there in Nevada, and it was built over a fault.
A fault. Well, that's Yucca Mountain, and my feeling is
not good.
Well, my feeling
so you can't
is
depend on the government to protect you.
No,
you can't
well,
depend on people letting you know about this. So I'm so pleased that you had this program. It's so critical at this moment.
it is.
And I hope people listen to it and take heed and don't wait for it to happen to them. There are a lot of people that are deficient. They don't take any nutrients, antioxidants.
No, they take nothing.
They take nothing.
No, they eat a normal diet, which is empty and devoid of nutrition.
Yeah, and so those people taking antioxidants of any quality are better off than those not taking anything at all.
Well, I agree.
Anyhow,
well, Dr. William Johnson
has proven itself. Dr. Curie got a lot of awards for saving those children and working with the people over in the Ukraine and near Chernobyl.
Well, we
but
have
it was
to do
throughout
it here.
the area. It wasn't just a small amount area.
I understand.
That was covered.
Well, your point, we've got to go, but your point is simply that everybody in America needs to protect themselves now.
Right now.
Not wait. Dr. William Johnson, we'll talk to you again in the future. Thank you very much for being here tonight.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. And Roland, I want to remind people that you did contact me the other day, and if you folks order this, and this is not an infomercial, this is life-saving information. If, and I hope and I ask that you do this for yourselves and your loved ones, bioage.com, order the superfood, just mention my name, and Roland will give you 10% off whatever you buy. 10% off.
I created a coupon called, the coupon code is Rense.
Just use my name, coupon Rense, and 10% off. You will feel the difference in this product, unless you're loading yourself up with junk, and I mean meat and dairy and processed food and garbage. You will feel the difference within a couple of days. Some people the next day. You just don't get this kind of nutrition. And when your body gets the nutrition, your body starts to sing. It's just amazing what happens. So thank you, Roland, for being here. We'll talk again. This is a critical time in the survival of our species, really.
Really, and thank you, Jeff, for passing the message. But I'm an eternal hopeful.
Yes.
And I've been using this product and sharing this product for over 10 years. And people with leukemia in America, people with Dr. Johnson had a bout of Lyme's disease and survived. According to him, if it hadn't been for the BIOSUPERFOOD, he wouldn't have survived.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Viral issues of all sorts. So just understand that it's a nutrition for the brain and that all systems go rather than just being for a nuclear issue.
Very good. Well, thank you, Roland. We'll talk again. Be well. Okay, and we'll be right back with hour 3 in just a couple.